Hi everybody, it's good to see you. I hope things are well. Won't you pull you up a chair and set a spell while we talk about what lives deep in the mountains of Cades Cove. Cades Cove, Tennessee lies in the Smoky Mountains. It is a historic place, part of the Smoky Mountain National Park, where you can get lost in the beauty of the scenery, nature, animal life, and plants. It's a natural oasis. But the cove has a mysterious side. What lives deep in the mountains of Cades Cove? Well, let's get a little history on the cove, and then we'll go a little deeper. In 1797, the Cherokee established a settlement along the trail of the European traders. They named it Sehi, or other words after the chief Cade of the Cherokee Indians. This village along the flats of Cove Creek. In 1819, the Treaty of Calhoun took all Cherokee claims to the Smokies. They would linger in the forest until 1838, when they were forcefully removed during the Trail of Tears. John Oliver and his wife Louina were the first European settlers to the cove in 1818. In 1821, William Tipton bought large amounts of land and sold some of it to his boys and his relatives. The settlement really began to boom. In the 1820s, Peter Cable moved to the cove and designed a dike system to drain the swamp in the western part. In 1827, Daniel Foote opened a forge to make tools. And in 1855, Robert Shield built the tub mill on Fords Creek, and his son Frederick built the first grist mill. From 1820 to 1850, the population flourished and grew to 671. In 1833, the post office was built, and in 1839, the Sevierville postmaster set up a weekly route to the cove. Going to church was another important part of the cove, so in 1825, John and Lucretha Oliver organized Miller's Cove Baptist Church, until division amongst the church members caused 13 members to form their own church, Cades Cove Missionary Baptist Church. In 1863, the war come to the cove. Confederate bushwhackers from Hazel Creek and parts of North Carolina began raiding the cove, stealing livestock and killing any Union sympathizers, forcing John Oliver's son to run to Rich Mountain to hide. In 1863, John Oliver passed, leaving almost none of the cove founders alive. In 1863, Knoxville was occupied by the Union Army. Confederate raids in the cove continued. Russell Gregory originally vowed to be neutral, but when his son went to the Confederate side, even though they were killing and stealing, Gregory formed a small militia made of the Cove elders. In 1864, they ambushed a band of Confederate marauders near where the Forge and Abrams Creek crossed. The Confederates were chased back to North Carolina, but 2 weeks later, a band snuck in and killed Gregory. After the war, it took a while for the population to grow back, but it eventually did. Down in Chestnut's Flats was an area known for making moonshine. Josiah Gregory was one of the ones making it. John W. Oliver, the local mail carrier at the time, hated moonshine and the drinking alcohol, and he would find stills along his route and would turn them in. In 1921, Gregory's still was raided, and he blamed Oliver, but this time Oliver was innocent it was a surveyor surveying the area that found it and reported it. One night, just after the raid, the Oliver's barns mysteriously were burned, destroying the tools and the livestock. In retaliation, Gregory's sons were assaulted by the Sparks boys. Christmas night of 1921, Gregory and his boys hunted them Sparks boys down and shot them. The Gregory boys were convicted of burning the barns and the assault. But after 6 months in jail, Governor Pay pardoned them. The folks of Cades Cove fought against the formation of the Smoky Mountain National Park, but they were assured that their land would not be part of the park, so they agreed on its formation. But in 1927, the Tennessee General Assembly passed a bill for funds to buy land and gave the Park Commission power to take any land inside the park boundaries by eminent domain. The Cove citizens were angered by this, and the head of the Park Commission began receiving death threats. In 1929, the head commission took suit out on John Oliver, but the court ruled the federal government never said Cades Cove was essential to the park. So the Secretary of the Interior signed that the cove was essential, and another suit filed, and this time, unfortunately, Oliver would lose. Oliver would return to court arguing that his land was worth $30,000. The head commission didn't want to pay half, but the court only awarded him $17,000. Finally, Christmas Day, 1937, Oliver would leave his cove home for good, still using the primitive Baptist church to meet until the 1960s. The National Park Service would still maintain the cove as a meadow, not allowing it to return to forest. All modern structures were demolished, leaving only the primitive cabins and barns. Alrighty, well, we got a little history. So now, let's look a little deeper at what resides in the mountains of the cove. It is told when you're out walking the mountains, all at once a silence falls over the land, not a thing making a single sound. But then out of nowhere, grunts and loud bangs come through the trees, even a tree being pulled up by its roots and thrown. And then out steps a black-haired beast, towering over any man. And in fear, it runs off, leaving behind only huge footprints. Another account tells while driving through the old roads of the cove, in an old pasture, you can see a man plowing the fields. But you may say, well, there's nothing strange about that, except one thing. Behind him, the plow never breaks the ground, and he seems to be floating there, no legs touching the ground. And all at once, he disappears. And in another, out of nowhere, you can hear an awful howling coming through the hollers, and all you see is a dog-like creature walking on his back legs as he disappears behind the hill. And lastly, at night, coming over the mountains are strange lights in a circle pattern, moving through the valley and taking off to never be seen again. So, in this peaceful oasis, tourist area, strange things happen here. What are they, and why here? I guess nobody will ever truly know the answer to that one. Folks, I want to thank you for sitting and listening to me talk about the strange happenings at Cades Cove. Thank you for listening. We love you to pieces, and we'll see you next time.